All right, thank you, Ms. Tammy. We're really excited to kick off the day with a lot of data. I know that sounds like it might be a little technical, but we are gonna make sure that we outline it in a way that really resonates with you all to highlight the themes that have surfaced from our youth with numerous engagements. So what we'll cover is why this data is so essential, the Alex's Place data in brief. We're really going to make sure that we capture the numbers that demonstrate how our youth are struggling and how much are seeking help with just the small time that Alex's Place has been open. The Inspire event that we did in collaboration with the Ministry of Health and Wellness, as well as HSA. The Kids Helpline data, which we're so grateful that it's been up and running for a year now. What's missing from this data today and how we're gonna go about navigating, collecting that, compiling it to supplement this current data. What we can do with this data and how we can really push for meaningful change, turning the tide with our theme, as well as what are practical, tangible next steps that we all can walk away with today. I really want to highlight the 3 tiers of data that we are going to cover today. So, of course, Alex's Place, as I mentioned, really is young people accessing help from mental health professionals. So this is them actively seeking out mental health treatment and making sure that they are speaking in a safe space where they know that they are going to get intervention. The Inspire Youth event was a single event that we hope and are very excited to make an annual occurrence. And that was more of a curated environment for young people to be present and be open amongst each other as well as trusted adults. It had several different details and opportunities for young people to share, which we'll elaborate on later in the presentation, and really was led by questions and connection. And then, of course, the APF Kids Helpline, which is a confidential, anonymous space. And so you kind of see the difference in each resource. One is accessing mental health professionals, one is a safe but still semi-public space, and then one is truly confidential and anonymous. And so we're really excited to share how all of the data and the themes across these 3 tiers tie in together and really capture what our youth are feeling, seeing, and what they need. I also want to take a moment to highlight so much of what was said through all of our opening remarks, particularly want to zone in on your phrasing of join up and how powerful it can be when we collaborate. This qualitative data is the first of its kind for mental health in the Cayman Islands because we worked collaboratively with the Alex Panton Foundation, HSA, and the Ministry of Health and Wellness. I would just like to give a round of applause for that because that is incredible. It is so incredible to see the impact we can have when we work collaboratively and really focus on the needs of our youth. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Basson.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to be doing this a lot because my friend Emily is about 5 foot taller than I am. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing to be here this morning. Good morning. So I'm going to just first of all highlight why is this data so important? Why is it so powerful? And in order to do that, we really do need to understand and recognize the importance of the social determinants in mental health challenges. So when we look at the biopsychosocial model, which is the way we tend to understand mental health challenges, we're looking at the biological determinants, the psychological determinants, and the social determinants. And the social determinants are now being recognized as far more important than they have been previously and taking more precedence in both the prevalence and presentation of mental health challenges as well as at the roots of the solutions to mental health challenges. And that is why this data is so important, because it is all about the social determinants of the mental health challenges we're seeing in the Cayman Islands. I'm going to present the Alex's Place data first in brief. So I work in my day job as a clinical psychologist at Alex's Place, doing risk assessment and safety planning for young people. We opened in January 2023. The team is completely formidable, made up of nurses, social workers, occupational therapists, psychiatrists, and psychologists. It was launched in partnership with the Alex Panton Foundation, the Ministry of Health and Wellness, and obviously HSA. And it's a youth-friendly space. And we complement the A&E department. We're like the A&E department for adolescent mental health. We provide care and support to children between the ages of 10 and 20. And in case you need to know, we're open 10 till 6, Monday to Friday. And you'll always find a friendly face. One of those might be mine. So I want to talk you through some of the data. In 2023, when we opened, we saw a total of 148 young people. And then last year, in 2024, we saw a total of 269 young people. You can see that data broken down between January to June. I broke it down because I thought January to June, like, we had unprecedented numbers, and maybe we had way more than the rest of the year, but actually, there's not a major significant difference between those two numbers. But last year was an unprecedented mental health presentation year for HSA, without a doubt. The numbers have been building, and this is showing some of that. I'm looking forward to us having years and years of this data so we can have a look at the general trend. So what are we seeing? This is total number of visits. So I'm going to just point to 2023, those 148 young people made 1,043 visits. And in 2024, the 269 young people we saw made 2,658 visits to see either a nurse, a social worker, psychologist, psychiatrist, or occupational therapist. I've broken this down into male and female because this backs up the qualitative data I'm going to present. So, in 2023, we had 267 visits from 49 young men, 777 visits from 99 young women. And in 2024, we had 728 visits from 97 young men and 1,930 visits from 172 young women. You can see that men are presenting much less than women, so girls versus boys. And whilst you might think maybe boys are suffering less than girls, the data actually shows that that isn't the case. They feel that they can talk much less about their mental health. It's weak to talk about emotion. It's weak to cry. And that is something that we have got to desperately, quickly change. So I'm going to talk briefly about diagnosis. You can see in order of presentation, the most common presentation is anxiety, just pipping depression by 1. And then we have, number 3, suicidal ideation, ADHD, and then people presenting with an actual suicide attempt. If you look at suicidal ideation, we went from 7 presentations in 2023 to 67 in 24. 8 attempts in 23 to 34 in 24. So we're really seeing people either talking about it more or actually feeling this more. And that's something we have got to really understand further. So I'm going to pass back over now to Emily to talk about the Inspire event that came from all of this.
So a little bit about the Inspire event. As Dr. Basson mentioned, last year was a profoundly difficult year for mental health in the Cayman Islands, particularly with our youth. And so private and public entities across the islands came together and discussed what kind of space can we create for our youth now, as soon as possible. And we landed on this Inspire Youth event. The full title was Inspire, a Youth Meetup to Speak Out. And at this event, there were 3 different kinds of spaces that young people could engage in. The first was Let's Talk, which were just discussion spaces. There were moderators present, however, it was youth-led. We wanted to make sure that they didn't feel like they were coming to another lecture, that they were actually coming to engage and lead the way and talk about things that mattered most to them. The second space was mindful activities, making sure that we had appropriate facilitators present to lead those activities, one of which was mindful art and drawing and coloring. And if you go out to our booth, you'll see a big wooden mural that many of our young people who attended this event all contributed to. And the bulk of their names are on there, and it's a really beautiful piece to see how they came together. And so that was just another way of giving them some tangibles that they can walk away with to just help cope with difficult emotions and express themselves in healthy ways. The third component was educational workshops. So we made sure that our facilitators had engaging sessions, that it was a two-way space and not just, again, coming, sitting, and being talked at, but that they were learning something, but also able to offer their insights, their lived experiences. And so this was a really valuable event to capture a lot of qualitative youth data, because we made sure to take steps to ensure that it was a safe space for them to be open, transparent about their lived experiences and about the emotions that are coming from all of the struggles that they're facing. So the age range was 12 to 17-year-olds, and we made sure to target all the schools across the islands. We were able to thankfully bring students over from the BRAC as well. I know so often we're not able to accommodate bringing them to join into events here in Grand Cayman, so we were so grateful that a group of students could come join, and they were thrilled to be there. And we also had 234 attendees, which was incredible for the turnaround that we had for this event. So really want to highlight the valuable data that we got from this. We had many themes come out of this event. And as Dr. Basson will allude to throughout the presentation, all of it is intertwined. Everything relates to each other. We're hearing so many of the same themes across the 3 tiers of data. Relationships, hopelessness, drug use, spaces or lack thereof for youth, social media and the challenges that come with being on social media platforms in this day and age, internalizing issues. Dr. Basson spoke already about how some youth really feel like they have a difficult time speaking out, feeling that no one cares, other cultural issues, which Dr. Basson will elaborate on, hostile school environments from their lived experiences and a little bit of detail of how they feel that they're experiencing that, as well as face-to-face interaction or lack thereof, and the need for more of it for them to be able to connect. So I will hand this over to Dr. Basson for the details.
Thanks. Okay, so before I dive into this data, I just want to highlight something that Her Excellency spoke about, and that is that this is progress. This data can make us feel like it's dark because it highlights the struggles and the challenges, but this is progress. We have moved from a place of significant stigma to a point where 234 young people felt that they could come into a public space and talk about their challenges. And that was a historical moment in the history of Cayman Islands mental health. Yeah, absolutely. This presents us with a new dawn, a new place from which to step boldly. So I don't want this data to pull people down. I want it to lift us up, because from here, it presents great opportunity for us to actually do something positively about it. So I'm going to talk through these themes. The first one is relationships, and there are 3 sub-themes: challenging relationships between parents and children, challenging peer relationships, and challenging relationships with the self. It's very Freudian, isn't it? But I will explain it. So, in terms of challenging relationships with parents, we have comparisons. I've tried to turn very dry data into the young people's voices. So, children are saying, young people are saying, my parents are comparing me to other people. all the time. They're saying, if only I can be like so-and-so. Well, I had it way harder. You've got nothing to worry about. They're also saying, I cannot talk to my parents. It doesn't feel safe. I feel blamed and shamed when I talk. If I express myself, it becomes an argument, and I'm seen as disrespectful. My parents don't listen. They don't try to understand me. I want them to listen to me, not just to be told what to do. I know my parents are trying to help me, but they're just pushing me away in the way that they are doing it. And then we've got a topic that's very close to my heart. My parents are calling me names. They are calling me stupid. They're saying, if you're going to kill yourself, just go ahead and quickly do it. They're saying, I wish you were never born. This is close to my heart because this is what I grew up with in my experience. I was called names as a child by my parents, especially my father. So I know what this feels like, and it's really heartbreaking to see the extent of it here. And I really want this to change. And I know parents love their children. I know they do, and I know that they want help. So that's something that I really feel very passionately about us doing something about together. So let's go on to challenging peer relationships. Young people are saying relationships are draining because there's so much drama. I can't trust my friends because of dishonesty, jealousy, and gossiping. As a girl, I feel pressurized into sex. There's negativity around women and their bodies, and it feels really hard to fit in, to belong. Anyone who listens to me knows I talk about acceptance, connection, and belonging, and this speaks directly to that young people are struggling with those things. So what is the relationship with the self? From the data, what we're seeing is young people are going through puberty. Of course they are. We're looking at 12 to 17-year-olds here. And they're saying, going through puberty is hard. I'm changing so much. I have new emotions, and I'm dealing with lots of internal changes, and that's really challenging. Let's go on to talk about the hostile school environment. There's 5 sub-themes. My teachers don't understand me. They don't help me. They don't believe me. They don't make me feel welcome in school. There's not enough mental health help in schools. We have amazing school counsellors, but there's just not enough. There's an inconsistency in rules being enforced. Sometimes there are, sometimes they're not. Different people, different rules. And there's no flexibility when we need it. There's bullying in school, and it's rife. I don't feel safe to report it. When I report it, when I did, nothing was done. In a couple of cases, there were young people who were being touched inappropriately in class, and they were skipping class in order to get away from that, and then they were getting in trouble for it. But nothing was being done about that inappropriate touching, and that has got to stop. It is not okay. We have got to help our young people feel safe in their school environment. Then there is so much academic pressure. This is something I see in my therapy room all the time. I'm only as good as my grades, they're saying. It's so hard to get by here in Cayman. I can only get by if I achieve, and if I don't achieve, I am nothing, and there is no hope. Let's talk about face-to-face interaction. We think young people, all they want to do is be on their phones. Well, do you know what? The data says that they don't. They're saying people think we're happy online, but we're not. Being social is really important to our mental health, but there's not enough face-to-face interaction or affordable activities for us to do. So we really need to help our kids get out of their rooms and out of the house and getting together again. And do you know what? As adults, we probably need to do the same. Thank you. Okay, I'm glad this is speaking to you. So then this kind of ties in with spaces. There's not enough discussion around mental health and suicide. There's not enough face-to-face places to talk aloud about those issues. So this has massively improved. We know that. There's loads of people in this room doing stuff about that. But do you know what? It's not enough. And when Her Excellency talked about pay up, this is where we need to pay up. There's lots and lots of past activities that have been cancelled. Young people would come to me and say, that we used to do this, and there used to be that, and there's not anymore. They're saying there's a lack of appropriate and affordable activities. We need something or somewhere for us teenagers to go at night, not just creating havoc in Cayman Bay, right? And we need a swimming pool to use more than for organised clubs. Okay, we need some spaces. Social media, it's causing us major issues. It's impacting our body image. There's mean comments, drama, and even blackmailing online. Sexting and bullying are big problems for us. And young people are saying, I'm addicted to my phone and screens. We've got a panel later. I can't wait for it because I'm extraordinarily passionate about these topics. They're saying, social media is making me do things that I don't want to do. Having 24 access on social media is such a problem for me, and we will go into this in much closer detail. But I want to highlight a case that I have seen. I saw a young person who came in to see me with significant behavioural challenges. I realised that they were on their phone for around about 7 hours a day. And I said, okay, I'm not going to do any psychological intervention other than reduce the phone time, okay? Over 4 weeks, we reduced that phone time from 7 hours to 2 hours, and all of the behavioural difficulties disappeared. All of them. That was the only intervention. I mean, that is something that we have to listen to. Then I want to talk about the cultural issues, and I am very aware that I am up here as a white British woman who moved to this island 3 years ago. I have no right to come here and talk about cultural issues, so please bear with me while I speak about what young people have said, and I will ask you to remember this is not my voice, but the voice of young people, and I thank you for being patient with me for that. So, young people are finding that homophobia and discrimination against young people in the LGBTQIA+ community is really impacting them. Young people are saying, I can't be myself for fear of rejection. And I know some exceptionally brave young people in this community who are speaking up about this. They're also saying, my parents won't accept me. I'll be cast out of my home if I come out, or I have already been cast out emotionally because I came out. Then there's the international context of the social construction of language. When I was a kid, back in the 80s, okay, I'm old, killing yourself or suicidality was words not really spoken about so much. But now what young people are saying is IWKM is used like OMG or LOL, okay, that's not lots of love, I found out, has become part of everyday language. So I want to kill myself, like I don't look right, IWKM, has become, no, this is my posture, this is it, has become everyday language. And when people are struggling, their voices get drowned out by that. So it's very difficult to become heard when they are actually struggling. Then we've got boys don't cry. This was huge. Boys don't show emotion, and it's seen as weakness, and the numbers are backing this up. So all of these issues are internalized. I can't talk about it. Nobody's listening to me. I feel like my parents don't care. School is awful. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I am the problem. Maybe if I was just a better kid, I wouldn't have any of these problems. And that leads directly to shame, which we know leads directly to mental health issues, and then on to suicidal ideation. And no one cares. I'm trying to talk about this, I'm feeling all of this, but nobody cares about me. And then we're onto the theme of drug use, which links with resilience. I don't know how to cope with all these feelings, so I just use drink and drugs to help. And as there's nothing for me to do, it's a way of me to spend my time. It's really well reinforced. And then that all leads to loss of hope. It just makes me feel like I don't have a purpose in life. I'm living to just wake up and sleep. We all have ideas about what we want and what will help, but no one's listening. So, all of that, this is now what we call interpretative phenomenological analysis. It's a qualitative approach that I learnt back in the early 2000s when I was doing my doctorate. And it links all of these themes together, and this jumps out of the data. So I need to thank a few people for this, because this was a real collective effort. I need to thank Miss Emily Kelly, Miss Felicia McLean, Miss Renee Ebanks, Miss Brooke Moore, and Mr. Brian E. Dixon for helping to bring all of this data together. And I know you can't read it up here, and I'm not going to even try and talk you through it, but it's all on a board over there for you to please peruse at your leisure today, because this is how all of those things link together into what we're seeing. So I'm now going to pass over to Emily to talk about the Kids Helpline.
All right, so we are at a year's mark of launching the Kids Helpline, which has been a tremendous resource for the youth in our community. And just wanted to do a quick overview of the resource as a whole before I move into some of the figures. We have a website and an app that is full of several different mental health topics, and the topics themselves span across multiple target audiences. So we have each topic, for example, anxiety, depression, bullying, all available in age-appropriate content and written language for kids, also for teens, as well as for parents, caregivers, and educators. So the kids and teens, of course, is speaking directly to them and how to recognize maybe when is excessive worrying now stepping into anxiety territory, when is profound sadness now stepping into depressive territory, as well as parents, educators, caregivers. It talks through how to recognize these signs for the young people in your life. What are some things that you can flag saying, okay, my child, my niece, a young person I care about might be struggling with this. And it also includes different ways that you can support them. And we have a full resource page of the local mental health resources, both on our Kids Helpline website as well as the APF website. So there's an app that complements this website, and the app is something we're very, very proud of, because once it's downloaded, it's compatible with iOS and Android. Once it's downloaded, all the content is on there. And so we wanted to really make sure that was possible to minimize accessibility issues, because we know young people may not always have access to data and Wi-Fi, but once it's there and it's on your device, you can always peruse the information. The phone line and text line now is the bulk of our service. And our text line, as we anticipated when we launched last year, is much more engaged with by young people than our phone line. You'll see the figures coming up here. But I want to highlight our operational hours, which are Thursdays through Sundays, 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. There were a number of factors with deciding on these operational hours, some of which include our operational bandwidth as an NPO. And as an NPO, we do not offer counseling services. We simply offer education, advocacy efforts, and support. And so our phone line and text line services are an emotional support listening service, not crisis intervention, not a hotline, just offering emotional support in a safe, anonymous space. So over the year, of course, we haven't gotten fully through February yet, so we're March through January. We have had 105 text line chats and 7 phone line calls. So like I said, we expected that the text line would get a lot more engagement than the phone line. And this is really insightful data for us, because when we were setting up this service, our text line platform, software developer, so many other people that we consulted with to build out this resource continue to reassure us it's going to take time to build out, it's going to take time to grow. Sometimes helplines around the world that have a similar population size to ours don't get calls for weeks at a time. Maybe they'll get average 1 or 2 a week. We have had 105 in less than a year, which very much speaks to the need for this kind of resource for our young people. They have utilized it greatly. As we've talked about already, last year was a very, very difficult year for youth mental health, and we saw that they utilized this resource, particularly in May and June, where we had several losses in the community that we know impacted everyone far and wide. And they turned to this resource. It was a safe space for them, and we're so proud of that. As far as users that access this resource, females, young girls were the leading people. This very much ties into the theme that Dr. Basson has already addressed multiple times of boys do not feel like they can reach out for help. There's a huge stigma gender-wise surrounding that. And there were quite a few, 9%, who noted that they preferred not to say their gender. And so that could have been for a number of reasons, one of which that we have in mind is that they may identify in the LGBTQIA+ community and may not have felt fully comfortable yet identifying as one gender or another. From an age standpoint, 15-year-olds seem to be the primary age that is accessing this resource. So right kind of in the middle of the age range that this resource is intended to serve. And then 13%, which is the second most, is 11-year-olds, which is really powerful to be mindful of, because I think when we're envisioning young people with mental health difficulties, we kind of think mid-teens and older, but it's really, really important to recognize that people on the younger side are really having difficulties too. I mean, with our financial assistance program, our youngest young person that we're supporting right now is 6 years old. And so it's really, really important to be mindful. I understand there's hesitation about putting a label on kids too young, but that doesn't mean that they may not be having a difficult time or may not have experienced significant trauma that is impacting their quality of life and their mental health. So this is helpful information for us as well. From the topics, we're seeing a wide range, not all of which are actually even included here, but these are really the ones that we're seeing the most. And 15%, which is the highest percent of topics, is suicide ideation, and 14 is depression, a very close second. I want to take a moment to pause here, because I can imagine we see suicidal ideation as the leading one, and we get very worried and scared knowing that so many young people are accessing this emotional support listening service. And one of the thoughts coming to your mind might be, okay, if they're suicidal and they're contacting this service, then I should know as a parent, or one of those another thought along those lines. Want to emphasize how much of a difference it makes for young people experiencing suicidal ideation to have a safe space to express those thoughts and feelings. And research shows if they have that safe space, they are significantly less likely to act on those thoughts and feelings. And so having this space is pivotal for our young people experiencing these emotions. Just to have a space where they're not being told what to do, they're not being offered solutions, just a safe space where they can say, I'm feeling this way. I've been sad for months, and I'm feeling like I don't want to be here anymore. And just to be validated in the emotion. And validating the emotion does not mean that you're validating the thoughts or the behavior. You're just giving them a safe space to say, it's okay, you're not alone. And that in itself is a huge comfort to our young people. And I also want to assure you that we do have safeguarding pathways in place with our kids' helpline to make sure that we do everything we can to keep them safe and protect them. I'm going to hand over to Dr. Basson to get into the details of what we're seeing from our combos.
So what's really comforting about this data is it links directly into the data that we've seen from the Inspire event. And so a lot of the themes overlap. We're seeing family issues. What we saw differently here was that family makeup was having an impact. So whether there was a divorce or there was a kind of a remade family, a melded family, then you can see again they're not talking, a dismissive parenting style, calling children names came out here, and harmful responses when we do talk. School issues came out the same: bullying, stresses, academic pressure, teacher hostility, and skipping school came out here. And then friendship struggles, not talking to anyone. Maybe it's not okay to talk, they're saying. You know, maybe it's okay that we're not talking. Well, it's not. It's not okay that they're not talking. They don't trust other people. There's no one to talk to. Maybe my feelings aren't valid. Maybe it's just me. I can't talk to anyone. Internalizing again, it feels like there's something wrong with me. And that's the message sometimes coming from parents. There's something wrong with you. Sort it out. I feel like a burden. Low resilience. Some parents saying, no, I won't take you to counselling. You can't go because then everybody will know our business. External issues such as body image, the impact of social media. Community mental health was one where it was shown the impact of deaths by suicide on other young people in our community. And that is something I've seen massively in my therapy room, and everybody has seen that at Alex's Place. You talk to anybody in the team, and it's rippled throughout the young person community. Issues for boys. And so, what's missing? This is kind of showing that there's a slight hole in the data because of how we've collected it. Rather than doing big interviews, we've taken notes from young people and analysed chat texts. So what's missing is the amount of sexual assault and sexual trauma ongoing. We need to examine that a lot more. Of course, the parents' voice is not here, and we need to hear that. Young people are worrying about their parents' struggles. We have it really hard. My parents are working really hard. And issues around climate and sustainability, which I know are under there. So what can we do? Well, we need to join up. Services need to join up way better, and we need to work together, as we did to collect this data, to help our young people. We need to use this information to influence how policies are made, and that young voices and mental health is at the core of every policy created by this government. To explore parent-infant mental health programs as a matter of urgency so that we can help turn the tide on the issues between parents and children. We need to work on how mental health is being viewed and responded to in schools, and some of that's underway. We need to work with partner agencies to get more help for young people in their mental health in and out of school. Look at spaces and affordable activities. This is where we really need to pay up here. That's needed as a matter of urgency. And campaign to get young people out of their rooms and their homes, off their phones and video screens, and back to face-to-face contact. And so our next steps are a research paper we're going to write from all of this data and submit for publication as a collaboration between the HSA, Alex's Place, and the Ministry of Health and Wellness. A new research proposal is underway to back up this data with quantitative numbers data, and working alongside the ministry to help design responses to this data. And I'm going to hand over briefly to Emily to finish us up today.
All right, so we threw a lot at you first thing in the morning. So thank you for your attention, your patience, and your compassion as we navigated through all of these themes. If you take anything away from this, know that we have made so much progress for young people to be sharing this extensively in these spaces, and for the community itself to have created these spaces for them to have that. So please keep all of these themes in mind as you hear all of the rest of our speakers and panelists throughout the day. Everything is connected, and we are all well equipped to turn the tide together. And NDC and Dr. Erica Lam, on behalf of the Alex Panton Foundation, are going to present some amazing, more quantitative data, and both of these tie beautifully to start the day and layer into all of our other speakers. So thank you so much for being here, for engaging, and we look forward to a beautiful day.